Hello, I'm Langston J. Fitzgerald III, and I'm the professor of trumpet here at Penn State. And I happen to be in my 11th year of teaching here, and I came here after performing 33 years with the Baltimore Symphony, which says that I'm somewhat of a musician with a classical background. Although I have a classical background, from time to time I've delved in performing in theaters, Broadway musicals, big band, so forth. Different styles which I enjoy. I'm going to express a little bit about the trumpet, and I happen to have a few instruments of different pitch and key, and I'd like to maybe give you a little background. Trumpet has come a long way from biblical times, and the significant evolution of the trumpet as we know it today happened to come about as a result of a Viennese court trumpeter, Anton Weininger, who actually was a trumpeter with Franz Joseph Haydn at the Esterhazy estate. And one day he came up to Mr. Haydn and said, "Mr. Haydn, I've got an instrument that would be of great interest. And this instrument will be a little bit different than the natural trumpet, which was performed and used, exploited by Bach and many other Baroque composers, which had no valves and was just played by just changing the lip formation and the embouchure. But this instrument that Anton Weininger came up with allowed the trumpeter to take on a new role, and that is the trumpeter could then belong to the new club of playing, the country club, shall I say, and he could play like clarinetist or oboist or violinist, diatonically and even chromatically. So in 1796, Mr. Haydn said, "Okay, Anton Weininger," he said, I'll write a piece which will show this instrument and will show that the trumpet has a new role." So I'll play a little bit of the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, which was written for a trumpet in E flat. One other significant piece which followed in 1803 was by another composer, Johann Nepomuk Hummel, and the great Hummel Trumpet Concerto. That was in 1803. Haydn Trumpet Concerto is, in my humble opinion, maybe perhaps a better piece of music. So I'll play a little bit of all the movements very quickly for you. Chromatics. A fanfare like the Baroque period. That was just a little bit of the actually the second exposition of the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, because the first one is with the orchestra statement of the themes. A little bit of as those particular concerti at the time were really done in fast movement, slow movement, and then fast movement. The Haydn Trumpet Concerto really took place very late in the period, and is said by musicologists to be one of the most significant classical concertos because of the fact that Haydn was branching out in terms of structure, because we know that there was the sonata allegro form. He's making all kinds of changes late in the period with that, with key relationships and style and use of the development and so forth and thematic treatment. But the second movement is really a beautiful piece of music. I'll play a little bit of that theme. If you notice, a lot of the chromaticism which appears in the first movement also. So he really wanted to show that the trumpet could play chromatically and diatonically. Maybe I'll give you a little snippet of the last movement of the Haydn trumpet concerto, and you can see that all of a sudden the trumpet can truly play like a clarinet, oboe, flute, violin, bassoon, you know, and as opposed to just playing bum ba ba bum ba ba bum bum ba ba bum 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 bum, and that's what happened a lot in the Baroque period until the natural trumpets were explored in the altissimo register, but that's another thing. But the instruments still had no valves, and that's important. But you see these valves here are usually 3. Some instruments have 4 valves, like the piccolo trumpet has 4 valves to extend the register down and to make other combinations of the instrument play in tune. The theme of the third movement goes like this. A little bit of the Haydn trumpet concerto. That theme is very happy, very lively, and I can add too that his extension of the form and exploitation of the sonata allegro form as extended to be sonato rondo form, which is also the case with the Hummel trumpet concerto. So again, this is the E flat trumpet. Now the instrument that we know in the orchestra, and as I said, I played in the orchestra for some long time. We as orchestral trumpet players, this is our bread and butter. This is a C trumpet. And we play just lots of things on the C trumpet. Again, we transpose. We see a piece of music, and it may be in one key, but we read it in another key, which is something we have to do. And we have a multitude of transpositions as we change trumpets and as we find that a particular passage would lie better on another instrument in another key. So something that would be familiar. Just an excerpt from Pictures at an Exhibition by Mussorgsky. Many times the trumpet would be in the orchestra would be used to play a number of things, and many things in different styles. As this trumpet is used to play different things, one thing that comes to mind, one composer that sort of really stretches out and branches us in and ties in jazz is Mr. Gershwin. And one thing, I can think of a couple of things. This American in Paris has a big lyrical trumpet solo. And goes Now, sometimes players will be asked to play that, the conductor, and actually Mr. Gershwin wanted a felt hat. And one use of this wonderful piece of equipment that I have here is something that was actually given to me by a colleague of mine. And this was actually somewhat of an antique. We used to see in big bands, way back, we used to see a whole section of 4 trumpets with those in front. Has a very intricate little telescoping stand for adjustment and so forth. Well, this might be used to play in the second movement of the Gershwin Piano Concerto. There's a very, very famous trumpet solo, which is very jazzy. That's the orchestra now. Later comes and so forth. This solo goes on and on and on. So you can see that the trumpet has really come a long way, and you can see a very deep interest in the trumpet by many composers, and Gershwin is one standout composer. That was a C trumpet, and as I said, that's our everyday orchestral instrument that we play. We use other instruments, that E flat or D trumpet, or sometimes use even the piccolo trumpets to play music of the Baroque. Nowadays, the instruments, the piccolo trumpet is actually with valves, and with maybe 4 valves, most of them. There are some with 3, and all kinds of rotary contraptions for extending the range. Now, this is the B flat trumpet, and this is the instrument that most people know, because these others are a little unique. But this is the instrument that young people start on when they start in special music programs in public schools, and we find this instrument played in bands, marching bands. We find it used in jazz bands. We find it used in quintets and so forth. But this instrument is sort of become the granddaddy, and the instrument that will play. I'll give you a little idea of what it sounds like. Um, Now that's trumpet, open sound of the trumpet. Now we have various devices that we use to actually change and alter the sound and the timbre of the trumpet. Now this one, actually, if you had some coffee you wanted to pour in there, you could tip it there a little bit. And this one here is a really nice cup mute. This is the cup mute, and this one made by Mr. Dennis Wick in England. And the thing about it is that you can change the cup. You can make it a tight cup or a loose cup. This is the normal sound. Okay, now you want a tight cup. Okay, that's a tight cup sound. This is a straight mute. When composers just say mute or consordino, which means with mute, and muta is a word which means to change the sound. So this is what the straight mute sounds like. That's the straight mute. And this one is made by a gentleman in South America, Marcus Bona, and they be very, very good mutes. Now we have something else that is the harmon mute. The harmon mute has many, many uses. Sometimes it's called a wah-wah mute. And one thing is always a challenge for me because I have short arms. Okay, now this mute has sometimes a designation by composers to play with the stem extended like that, and it gives a sort of a sound of the music sort of being from afar or in the distance. Okay. Now, generally, when we play this mute, though, we usually play it without the stem. But this is a mute that Miles used predominantly. Miles Davis used this mute, and sort of made it really famous, you know. So that is the Harmon mute, or the wah-wah, but of course no wah-wah because we took the stem out. So Harmon mute. And then number 4 here actually is something that we find is very close to us at home in a particular location, and it's very, very significant to have, just in case there's somewhat of a plug up there. And so it's the plunger. So it makes a really great sound. Really wonderful addition to the mute arsenal. And again, we had this wonderful device that was given to me. And of course, you can do something even similar to what we do with the plunger.